superseded instruction number 3 2023. Some documentation with regard to the principal place of business is related to the constitution of business, timeline for granting of registration, that is if the premises is rented or leased. If partnership form falls under a separate jurisdiction, then immediate measures must be taken in order to reassign such ARN to the separate jurisdiction. Hello friends, I hope you have gone through the first part of our video, and in continuation with that, now we are moving into the second part of the video, and we will be discussing our fourth point, that is some effective changes that has come with regards to registration process under the GST. Now, why this instruction has been issued, that is of prime importance. On one side, the department is preventing any kind of fraudulent registration where passing off of fraudulent ITC can happen, and secondly, there is unnecessary harassment for persons who are applied for new GST registration process. And secondly, in order to ensure that genuine applicants must not be harassed, or there should not be any unnecessary delay in granting of registration to genuine persons or dealers. Now, why has this instruction come up? It's very interesting to see that during the process of application of registration, various unwarranted clarifications have been sought by the officers from the applicants. For example, they have asked for physical copies of the documents that has been uploaded, which is not sought for, which is not asked for. They have asked that the residential address of the applicant or the authorized signatory is not the same as that of that particular place from where it is asking or seeking for registration, or which can be different. Like if you are registering in Maharashtra, the applicant's registration address can be of Delhi. There is no harm in that. Thirdly, HSN code of the goods that are asked or that are mentioned in the application that will be supplied is banned for sale in that particular state. This is also an unwarranted clarification that has been asked for. Another queries has been raised, which has been found in this instruction has been unnecessary, is the additional documents of identification of that of the lessor. Like if one identification proof is given, then they're asking for additional identification proof. They're asking for photographs of the lessor in front or inside of the premises. Another justification sought for is the kind of goods which has been planned for supply in the registration process cannot be supplied from the declared place of business. Some of these issues has been faced multiple times by various applicants. So now the department has given us this instruction number 3/2025 by throwing some light on how the applications must be processed, both from the point of view of the officers as well as the what are the steps that the applicants must keep in mind while filing these applications. The department has superseded instruction number 3 2023 dated 14th of June 2023 with a latest instruction that is same, the instruction number 3 2025 dated 17th of April 2025. So there are three important parts that has been mentioned in this instruction. One is some documentation, or what kind of documentation with regard to the principal place of business. Now the department has come up with some strategic and truncated procedure where such documents will be required for the purpose of determining the principal place of business. The second part of the instruction is related to the constitution of business. Under various circumstances, we have seen that the officers were demanding certain additional documents which was not mentioned in the previous instructions also. As we can see from the current registration procedure, the department is throwing some light on the existence of business, the existence of the dealer, whether he has valid documents with regard to the registration place, whether with regard to the additional place, everything. Because in the near past we have seen that there has been multiple situations where fake registrations were identified and fake invoices were generated, and after verification, physical verification, the department found neither the business nor the promoter who was actually physically doing business from there. So in order to curtail that, the department has issued various instructions from time to time. Now with regards to this, the documentation part has been strategized. The system of procedure has been laid down, which the department as well as the dealer who are wishing to get registered needs to follow. So this was the second part, and the third part of this instruction is with regard to the timeline for granting of registration. So this timeline is not mandated, as like this is just like an instruction. The law will take its own course, but still there has been a dedicated timeline that has been given for various cases. So we will be discussing on these three areas where the instruction is throwing some light. One is the principal place of business, second will be coming to the constitution of business, and third will be the timeline for granting of registration. So let us go into the first part of our discussion with this instruction is what will be the document required for the principal place of business. So as we all know that during the filing of GST RAG 01, there has been an indicative list uh, which provides the basis for what will be the documents, supporting documents that will be given, that will be provided during the time of application for registration, which will provide the basis for the principal place. Now there are multiple types with which you can show the principal place of business. So there can be a direct ownership of the principal place by the applicant, there can be a rented premises, lease premises, or there can be premises which is in the name of the spouse or in the name of the relatives. So department in this instruction has given out some clear cut instruction for each of these categories of principal place of business. So let us go into the first category. The first category is if it is an owned premise. So the applicant who is asking for registration, or rather seeking for registration, owns the principal place of business. So that is a very clear cut kind of a thing. If you have an owned premises, then obviously the ownership details, a separate indicative list is also there. What kind of ownership details can be provided? So any kind of ownership document which establishes the ownership of the premises can be given as per indicative list. Additionally, department has in this instruction has given that anything just like a water bill or any particular document which is required under the state or the local laws with respect to ownership of the premises can also be provided. Now coming to the second point, which is a little bit dicey, where multiple registrations are cancelled on various grounds, that is if the premises is rented or leased. Now here what happens is that the applicant does not own the property. The applicant has taken the property on rent or lease, and on that basis the applicant is asking for registration. Now what documents needs to be provided as of now? So in this instruction they have mentioned that there is an indicative list mentioned again here, that in case it is a rental place or a lease agreement is there, a rent agreement is, a lease or land agreement must be provided. Ownership proof of the lessor. Since the applicant is a lessee, here we have to provide ownership proof of the lessor. Again, for ownership proof of the lessor, indicative list has been provided as per RAG 01. Plus, in this instruction, they have given that any water bill or any other ownership details which is required or mandated by the state or the local laws in the name of the lessor can be provided. No other document is required for proving the ownership of the lessor here. Now, in case of unregistered rent or lease agreement, we have to provide one identification proof of the lessor plus the ownership proof of the place, as discussed earlier. So here once it is becoming unregistered rent or lease agreement, then this additional document is required, that is the identification proof of the lessor. So be very careful to see that during the time of application whether that rent agreement is registered or unregistered, then we have to get for additional proof for the lessor. Now if the rent agreement or the lease agreement is a registered lease agreement, registry has been done in the registry office with regard to this rent agreement, then the additional requirement of identification proof has been done away with. You will not be required to provide any identification proof of the lessor. The additional catch here, That is, if the applicant has an electricity or a water connection in his own name, then no other documents is required other than the rent agreement that has been provided. So if the applicant can get a water or a electricity bill in his own name, then only rent agreement will be sufficient. The third category that has been mentioned in this instruction under the principal place of business is in case of consented premises. So what is this consented premises? The consented premises is nothing but the name or the ownership of the principal place of business is in the name of the spouse or the relative of the applicant. So what needs to be provided? The instruction clearly suggests that a simple consent letter in plain paper must be provided along with the identification proof of the person who is giving the consent, plus the ownership proof details as given in the indicative list. So with these three documents, it's enough if it's a premises taken on consent from any relative or spouse. Moving on to the fourth category is a shared premises. Under the shared premises category also, the similar documents is required as in the case of rent agreement, that is a rent agreement or a lease agreement plus identification proof of the lessor plus the ownership proof of the lessor, current ownership proof of the lessor must be provided for the purpose of this registration. Now, in case of rent agreement or the lease agreement, there is an additional point that has been given in the instruction. Let's say if you do not have any rent or lease agreement, then what will happen? There is still a registration can be sought under this category if you can provide an affidavit on a non-judicial stamp paper for minimum value, duly notarized, or it has been presented before the first class magistrate or executive magistrate. That is the first document that will be required. Also, any other document has been given in the indicative list for REG 01, that is like electricity bill in the name of the applicant, will be sufficient for granting of registration. And the sixth point under this category of principal place of business, if the principal place is situated under an SEZ, so any government recognized document, the SEZ certificate will be enough for granting of registration. So here are the 6 important clarificatory instruction that has been provided by the department with regard to the supporting documents for the principal place of business. Moving on to our second sub part of the instruction, that is what will be the documents in respect of constitution of business. Under the constitution of business, in case of partnership form, only the partnership deed will be sufficient. No other document is required. Like if you have an MSME certificate, shop and establishment, trade license, or a udyog registration, nothing will be required. Only the partnership deed will be sufficient as the constitution in support of your constitution of business. In case of any other entities like the association of person or trust societies, the copy of certificate of registrations will be sufficient. Only these 2 points has been clarified under the subhead of the instruction. Moving on to our last part of this instruction is the processing timeline and the need for physical verification, which is now a very frequent activity that is conducted by the department. Now, what does this instruction say? Let us go into it. Under the timeline category, there has been distributed, or let's say it has been divided into 2 parts. One is the risky category or red flagged, and another is non-risky category. So for a non-risk area or the non-risky category, all the applications that has been in complete form, or rather all the necessary documents has been provided or uploaded in during the time of application and is properly legible, then the timeline provided for granting of registration is 7 days, provided that all the application must be complete in all respect. All the necessary documents must be provided properly in a legible form. Now, for categories which has been flagged as risky, or rather Aadhaar authentication has not been done, then a physical verification has been mandated by the department, that the officer may, again I am using the word may, inspect your premises and give a physical verification report before granting of such registration. Now, what is the timeline? If such physical verification has been issued or mandated, that is 30 days from the date of application for registration. Now, where physical verification is required, the officer in charge will carry out a physical verification to identify the existence or non-existence of such business. Whatever the situation may be, the officer needs to give a report on such physical verification in GST RAG 30 within the stipulated time, and providing details of its physical verification, whether it is satisfied or non satisfied, that has to be provided in the report. Now, in case such premises is non-existent, or if they could not trace the existence of the premises, then any kind of efforts made by the officer in locating such registered premises must also be submitted in that particular report. Alongside this report, GPS tagged photographs of the premises must also be uploaded. If such ARN or the application has been found that it is falls under a separate jurisdiction, then immediate measures must be taken in order to reassign such ARN to the separate jurisdiction. So this was the last part of the instruction, which was on the physical verification and on the timeline specified. So there has been some specified timelines in this instruction, and we hope to see that the department follows these timelines, and if there is any delay, there must be sufficient reasons for such delays. Now, on this physical verification aspect of the department, I just want to give you some inputs on this, that this categorization of the department of being a risky application and a non-risky application is very subjective. What we have seen is that registrations are being cancelled on the basis of a reason. The directors of the partners are being non-compliant in the past, and due to such reasons it has been categorized as risky. Now, there is no clear-cut instruction provided by the department that what are the parameters under which such places or such registration or such applications will be categorized as risky. In this particular instruction, it is clearly stated that the physical presence or the accessibility of the premises is the only question of the verification process initiated by the department. But in many circumstances, we are seeing that this after this physical verification, even though they are locating the places, locating the premises, they have been providing with the supporting documents, still they are asking for some other documents in order to make sure that this registration is not fake. So this has become very subjective, and for many reasons the department is cancelling the registration. From the point of view of the applicants, I must also inform here is that there is always a right for the applicant to identify what are the problems, what are the reasons for the rejection of such registration, even though the premises has been found in reality, the documents has been provided. So what are the other reasons on which such registrations have been cancelled must also be looked into. So this instruction is a very welcome instruction. So I will suggest one thing after this instruction that has been came out, that before filing of any kind of application for registration of GST, please go through this instruction number 3 2025, where clear-cut instructions are given that what documents needs to be uploaded, what are the cautions to be kept in mind before filing of registration, so that your registration process is not delayed unnecessarily. This is a welcome instruction, and I think a lot of registration will be now smoother. So thank you for watching. Thank you for a patient listening.